Hi and welcome to today's tutorial. In this tutorial I will show you how to make this strawberry and flower keychain. It's really easy to do, it doesn't take too long and it's perfect for gifts. Hope you enjoy.
For this tutorial you will need some red yarn, some white yarn, some green yarn and some yellow yarn, a needle, some scissors, a needle threader, a stitch marker, a crochet hook. To start, we will make a magic circle. Wrap the yarn around 2 fingers, go underneath the first stitch, get your hook, pull the bottom stitch and twist. Now your thread can't go anywhere, you can remove your fingers, take the back yarn that's attached to the ball, thread it over the hook and pull it through. Now we should have a magic circle. Into our magic circle we are going to put 6 single crochets. So we're going to put our hook inside, pull up, draw up a loop and pull through. So in, up, over, across. In, up, over, across. So now we have 3. In, up, over and across. In, up, over, across. In, up, over, across. To count our stitches, if you flip your yarn over, you can see here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 stitches. Once you have your 6 stitches, take the tail end of the yarn and very gently pull it, and you will see that your circle starts to close. When you get to about halfway, insert your hook into the first loop, yarn over and pull through. Once you've done that, you will have closed your circle and you can pull the bottom ring closed. For the next round, we're going to put in 12 single crochets. Go back into the stitch we've just made and draw up a loop. Yarn over and pull through. There's 1. We're going to put 2 in our next one, so we're going to draw up a loop, pull through and then go back in, pull through again, and there's 3 stitches. So into the next one we're going to put 2, which will give us 5 stitches. Into our next one we're going to put in 1, that gives us 6, we're halfway. So into our next one we'll put 2, this gives us 8. Into the next one we put 1, which gives us 9. Into the next gap we put 2, which will give us 11. And then into the final space we put a single crochet, which will give us our 12. When we get to that point, you can pull through the back of the first stitch of the round, pull it through, and then you will have a shape that looks like this. You can keep adjusting your tail by pulling it if you want your ring to close. For the next round, we're going to put in 2 single crochets and then put in 2, and we're going to repeat that 3 times. So we're going to go back into the stitch that we just did, and we'll start with putting in 2. Oops. There's 1. And 2. In the next one, we will put a single crochet, and in the next one, we'll put a single crochet. So now we have 4 crochets in that round. Then we're going to put 2 singles in the next, which will give us 6, and then 2 singles, so 1 single, then another single in the next one, that will give us 8, then 2 singles into the same stitch, that'll give us 10, then a single, and then into the next stitch another single, that will give us 12. Into the next stitch we'll put 2 single crochets in the same space, which will give us 14, then a single, 15, another single, 16, followed by 2 singles, 17, 18, and close the round. For round 3, we are now going to do 3 single crochets and 2 increases each time. So we'll put in 1, 2, 3 singles, followed by 2 singles together, then we'll put in a single and another single in the next space, followed by 2 singles, then we put a single, single, and 2 singles. Okay, and now we've finished that round, so we can close off our round. So I'm just going to close our ring. For round 5, we're going to do 2 singles in each of the stitches, followed by another 2 singles in each of the stitches, followed by a double, and 2 single stitches into the same space. So there's 1. Then we're going to do 2 singles, and another 2 singles, 4 singles, and then 2 singles in the next space. So there's 3, and then we're going to go round and put in a single, 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 and for our final stitch, 2 singles together. Okay, and then close your round with a slip stitch. For round 6, we're going to do 5 single crochets into each stitch. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're going to put 2 single crochets into the same space in the next stitch. Then again, we're going to do 5 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 singles into the next one. That's our second. And then we're going to do 5 singles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, followed by 2 singles into the same stitch, and then close your round. So I'm drawing up a loop and I'm just going to pull this tight now to shape it a little bit. For row 7, we're going to do 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we're going to put 2 single crochets into the same space in the next stitch. Then 6 single crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, followed by 2 into the same stitch. Followed by 6 single crochets. And then we're going to join our round with a slip stitch. So, and then in the next row, we're going to put a single crochet in each one of our stitches, and I'm just going to mark it with a stitch marker. going to close with a slip stitch. For our next row, we're going to drop in a stitch marker, and we're going to do 2 single crochets in each individual stitch. But then when we come to the next stitch, we're going to close them together. So put your yarn through both of the stitches and then pull through both, and that will give us our decrease, and then through that loop. Then 2 single crochets, and then again we're going to do a decrease, then 2 single crochets, followed by another decrease, and then 2 single crochets, another decrease, 2 single crochets, another decrease, 2 single crochets, for the final decrease, and 2 single crochets. Join with a slip, and mark that stitch with your stitch marker. For our next row, we're going to do the same. So we're going to do, for our next row, we're going to do the same. So we're going to do 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and then a decrease, and then 2 single crochets into the next space, followed by a decrease, followed by 2 single crochets, and another decrease. Oops, picked up my yarn. Followed by 2 single crochets, and then a decrease again. Followed by 2 single crochets and a decrease. Slip stitch into that first round. Then we can put our stitch marker in this stitch. Once we get to this point, we can then stuff our strawberry. So you can use scrap yarn or you can use some stuffing. Give it a bit of a shove and a shape. And then for our next round, we're going to put in 6 decreases, and that should close pretty much up our strawberry to a point where we can then stitch. So I'm just going to take my stitch marker out, close up the loop. So I'm going to do 6 decreases along our strawberry. There's 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. Once you've done that, draw quite a large loop. If you want to stuff your strawberry some more, you can. Give yourself quite a long tail. So that we can sew up our strawberry. Pull it tight because it should close quite well. And then we can, in fact it's pretty much closed, but we can then go in if we need to and put some more stuff in our strawberry, and then we can seal it up at the end. So give it a bit of a shove. There we go. For the next part of the round, we're going to move on to the green. We're going to make a magic circle again. And chain 1. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet. And then a half double crochet. Then we're going to do a double crochet. Then chain 2. then a double crochet, a half double crochet, and a single crochet. Then once we've done that, we can slide that around. Then we can go in and do a half double crochet, a double crochet, chain 2, then a double crochet, followed by a half double crochet, followed by a single crochet. You can scoot that along too. Next, we're going to do a single crochet, then we're going to chain 1, then another single crochet, followed by a half double crochet, followed by a double crochet, followed by a half double crochet, and then a single crochet. Pull that closely together. Then chain 1 and put in a half double crochet, a double crochet, chain 2, put in a double crochet, and a single crochet. Put in a double crochet, a half double crochet and a join with a slip, then we're going to do chain 1, we're going to do a half double crochet, a double crochet, chain 2, put in a double crochet, a half double crochet, a single crochet, and then slip into the first stitch of the round. Then we can cut off and close our ring, and this will form the top of our strawberry. So we can put that to one side. Then we're going to create a slip knot and chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Once we've done that, we're going to skip a stitch, go into the next stitch and create a single crochet. Then we're going to go into the next stitch and create a single crochet, and we're going to repeat that all the way along till we get to the end. So you will have 9 single crochets in your 10 crochet space. Once we've got to the end, we're then going to chain a further 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we're going to repeat the same. So we're going to skip a stitch, go into the next stitch and put a single crochet in all of those stitches so that we meet back to where we were. Then we're going to slip stitch into the first stitch that we did, and then we're going to chain 10 again, then we're going to skip a stitch, and we're going to put a single crochet in each one of the next stitches till we get back to where we were. and then slip stitch into that round. You should meet back here. So now into this space we're going to put a single crochet, then in the next space we're going to put a half double crochet, go into the next space and we're going to put a double crochet, into the next space we're going to put a half double crochet, into the next space we're going to put a single crochet, and then we're going to slip stitch into the top of our leaf like so. Once we've slip stitched into the top of our leaf, we are going to chain one. We're going to turn our work and then we are going to slip stitch again into the other side of our leaf. Then we're going to put in a single crochet into the next stitch. Then we're going to put in a half double crochet into the next stitch of the round. Then we're going to put a double crochet in the next stitch. And another double crochet in the next stitch. A half double crochet in the next stitch, a single crochet into the last stitch, and then we will slip stitch into the center. And there we will have our first leaf. We're then going to repeat that process for our other leaves. So we're going to slip stitch into the next leaf. Then we will do a single crochet into the next stitch, followed by a double crochet into the next stitch, into the next stitch we will put 2 double crochets, then into the next stitch we will put a double crochet, followed by a half double crochet into the next stitch, followed by a single crochet into the next stitch. Then we will slip into the top of our leaf, and then we will chain one. Then once we've chained one, we will then chain one again, slip stitch into the first, oops, I'll put a single crochet in there, slip stitch, then a single crochet, followed by a half double crochet, followed by 2 double crochets, followed by a double crochet, followed by 2 double crochets into the same stitch, or the next same stitch. Followed by a double crochet into the next, followed by a half double crochet, a single crochet, and then slip stitch into the center. We're going to our third leaf now. So we're going to first of all slip into the first stitch. Then in the next, we're going to put in a single crochet, followed by a half double crochet, followed by a double crochet, followed by 2 double crochets into the same stitch, followed by a double crochet into the next stitch, followed by a half double crochet into the next stitch, followed by a single crochet into the next stitch, followed by a slip stitch, chain 2, then we're going to slip stitch back into the top, then a single crochet, a half double crochet, a double crochet, followed by 2 double crochets into the next stitch, double crochet, half double crochet, single crochet, slip stitch into the top. Now we have our leaves. Here we can cut off and leave a long tail for stitching, and then we're going to thread the wool tail through so that the wool tails are on the back of both sides. We're now going to move on to our yellow yarn. So we're going to make a magic ring again, and in our magic ring we're going to put 10 single crochets. 1,
2,
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Once we've done that, we're going to close our ring and we're going to slip stitch into the first chain of the round. Once we've done that, we can tighten our ring, and then we can finish off, and then we want to just tidy it up. So we're just going to weave in our ends. And we'll weave in our centre. And then we can cut off. And then we're going to move on to our white. So we're going to join on with a slip stitch into our circle in any one of the little points that we have. I'm going to try and work over my tail. So now we've chained 1, and we're going to go back into the same stitch, and we're going to put in a half double crochet. Once we've put in a half double crochet, we're going to put in a double crochet into the same stitch. Then we're going to yarn over twice, go into the same stitch and put a treble crochet, chain 1, then we're going to yarn over, put in a double crochet, then a half double crochet, followed by a single crochet. Then we're going to slip into the next stitch of the round. Then we're going to go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, chain 1. We're going to go back into that same stitch and put in a half double crochet, followed by a double crochet, followed by a treble crochet, once we have our treble, chain 1, yarn over, put in a double crochet, followed by a half double crochet, and then slip stitch into the next round. We're going to go into the next, chain 1, we're going to put in a single crochet, a half double crochet, a double crochet, a treble crochet,
Followed by a double crochet,
chain 1, a double crochet,
a treble crochet, chain 1, then a double crochet,
a half double crochet, and a single crochet. Slip stitch into the next chain along, chain 1, to the same stitch, into the same stitch we'll put a single crochet, then a half double crochet, then a half double crochet, then a double crochet, followed by a treble crochet, chain 1, yarn over, put in a double crochet, a half double crochet, and a single crochet into the same stitch, then slip into the space, chain 1. In the same space we're going to put a single crochet, a half double crochet, a double crochet, a treble crochet, chain 1, then put in a double crochet, a half double crochet, and a single crochet, and then slip into the chain. This is a bit tricky, so just pull through. And then we can weave in our ends. For this next step, I'm going to make a long chain. And you can make it to your desired length. So about 30 is what you may need. So I'm just going to keep going until I think it's long enough to form my keychain. So once you think you've got the length that you need, you can go back in and put a single crochet in each one of the stitches. So I'll continue on this and then I will meet you once I finish. Once we have finished with our chain, we can then use a small piece of green yarn, which I'm going to just cut off my ball. And I'm just going to thread my needle And depending on your keychain, you may have one that needs to be sewn around, or you may have one that you can attach. So I'm just going to fold my chain in half. I'm going to tie a knot in the bottom of my yarn. I'm going to make sure it's quite a thick knot so it doesn't come through the other end. Like so. And I'm going to hide that inside. I'm going to push my needle through. And then I'm going to sew over my knot until it is flat. So that it won't budge and it won't stick out. Once that's done, fold back in half, thread your needle through the other side, and then we can then sew this together. Like so. And then you can run your yarn out of the other end and create a knot in the back. Just hide the knot. Pull tightly, and then you can cut off. And then here you can then attach your key ring. So for the next part, we want to sew up the strawberry that we made earlier. So I'm going to first thread my needle and just close the top of my strawberry. Once the strawberry is closed, you can then form a knot and cut off. We're then going to take the leaf that we made earlier, and I'm going to just close the ring on that a little and take these loops from the end of here, and I'm going to tie them together in a knot. Cut off one end, but I'm going to leave the other. Going to thread my needle and then I'm going to go in to a space on my strawberries leaf, And then I'm going to sew this onto the top of my strawberry. And whilst I'm doing that, I'm sewing the cord onto the top also. And we'll just make sure it's really nice and secure. And then we can tie off. Cut off our ends. And there's our strawberry. I'm just going to pinch it to give it some shape. And then we are then going to sew on our flower. So I'm first going to cut off a little bit of yellow. And I'm going to sew our flower to our leaves. If we pull through, we can tie at the back. And then we can scoot our petals over. And we'll just continue to sew that onto our leaves. And then once again, we can then tie off at the back. We can then cut off. And now all that's left to do is to attach our flower to the other side of the keychain. And we are just going to sew that on to the back, and we can sew it on to conceal this yellow part here. So just make sure you're only going through the leaf and not the flower. Keep sewing so it's nice and secure, nice and tight. It's not going to go anywhere. And once you're happy that's nice and secure, we can then tie off. Cut off. And there we have our completed keychain.
I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found it easy to follow. If you do have any questions, please drop me a message below and I'll try my best to answer.